maybe it's not really our fault in the sense that it feels so real to sense or to have the feeling that you're an individual and kind of disconnected from everyone else. So kind of the first thing which you should try and cultivate is sort of reimagine or just remember the connection of, like, at least life as a matrix. But then if idealism is true, basically, yeah, this is all connected in the same substance, and this is a reality. So kind of your feeling of identity, which is probably one of the root causes of a lot of problems, because it's the you versus me. Because if my sort of light cone of compassion, another word borrowed from Michael Levin, is really small, then yeah, I'm not going to care about anything. But if it's big, I'm going to include animals and plants and the ecosystem, stuff like that. And that's probably the first illusion that you have to sort of work against, where your sober waking mind is telling you, hey, we are all disconnected and it's only me and I have to fight for survival. Transcendental experiences, if they're mediated through psychedelics or trance, suddenly allow you to feel what it means to just dissolve and become one with all that is. And this is where this profound transformative potential is there. And I mean, this is like a big sort of red flag for most rational thinking people. If you say, look, the physical reality is fine and we know how it works, most of it, but that's not all. We live in a multiverse, in a transcendental multiverse, which is huge and has many planes. And this physical one is just a tiny sliver, and we somehow are, during our waking state, that's where we exist and live. But this doesn't mean that you cannot travel and explore this multiverse. Yeah, if you never had access to experiencing this, you'll just say, come on, that's bullshit. You just like baby talk. But then there's people like Christopher Bache, who for 20 years took 73 high-dose LSD sessions, and the things he describes, I mean, for me, that's a 101 of metaphysics. I mean, the stuff he describes in the book is just insane. And this is something which you can yourself go and experience if you're up to taking 500 micrograms of LSD, which most people shouldn't. But just to say, this is like a metaphysical, this is empirical metaphysics, kind of. It's something which is reproducible theoretically, which brings it to a new level. It just takes a small fraction of the population to like show change and have this become meaningful for people to see, because often it's just you can't even imagine what's happening, and just seeing people embody this or show these behaviors can already help. And I mean, there's tools, there's like a lot more benign stuff you can do without having to do a full-on disembodied psychedelic trip. I mean, I find just the idea that realizing the thing you're always in, this ego state where you worry and you're anxious and you're annoyed and you think about tomorrow or about yesterday. I mean, this is like the 101 meditation, where you just try and take a step back and just watch that. And even if you can't reach that state, just knowing that this is something that's possible, I find already allows you a bit of a shift in recontextualization. And that's sort of a first small step. And then depending what feels right, and probably psychedelics are the very sort of last resort for people, because I love the quote of, I think it was Huxley, when he was asked in an interview, it's on YouTube somewhere in black and white, they asked him, well, who should take these substances? And Huxley's like, well, yes, professors. And then he kind of was thinking, and then he said, well, actually anyone who's certain about reality, that would do them very good. And I think that's sort of that's probably also the health benefit of psychedelics, that you're being trapped in your mind with zero flexibility. You're just in there. You just can't change anything. And somehow this reboot with psychedelics lets you become more flexible and just suddenly discover different perspectives and recalibrate. And that's probably also something which is beneficial for your metaphysical assumptions. Have you followed up on the sort of the brain imaging studies of people under psychedelics, that they somehow don't light up like a Christmas tree, and that it's more reduced, and that's kind of weird, but then you can explain it away with entropy and whatever, blah, blah. One of the sort of mechanisms of idealism would say that your brain tunes into this consciousness field. So it's not creating it, it's transmitting it. So if the transmitter starts to break, then you kind of start to reconnect. And it was also Aldous Huxley who, building on the philosophy of Henry Bergson, had this idea of the reducing valve, where the big thing our consciousness does is just reduce the influx of craziness of reality and put it into this, he called it measly trickle, so we can survive and run away from the saber-toothed tiger and function. And psychedelics kind of break this valve, and then you get the full-on influx of transcendence, which is there and you can experience, but it's bad for survival. But that would also kind of explain that why people who are taking LSD having the most intense phenomenal experiences which do not correlate with your brain going into metabolic overdrive. That seems to kind of point in the same direction. So exactly, because that would be my question. Like, are we all whatever musical prodigies, but our valve is reducing that, and then if you break it, we all start to play piano virtuously? But that would be weird. I mean, like, why would evolution make us good piano players and have that stored in there, and you can break it open if you hit your head in a specific angle? I mean, it is possible, but I don't know. But the other thing is that, and again, this is sort of an ancient idea, this Akashic field, or also a concept in shamanism, that there is this non-physical storage of information which you can go and access. And you could say that's where intuition comes from, because that's the place you get these spontaneous ideas of creativity. But maybe it's more serious, like Erwin Laszlo wrote hundreds of papers and books, very serious guy, and he wrote a book called Akashic Field, where he claims maybe the quantum vacuum is this storage of information, and why not? And again, it's sort of a blending of highly esoteric terms with quantum physics, but he's not like he's a serious, sober scientist. I mean, it's probably a bit of an overstatement saying that science is there yet. So it's a couple of random people. Some of them are very eminent. So yeah, that gives them more weight. But if there's a layer of reality beyond the physical, which we can access, which has certain properties, for instance, it's structured, it has intelligence, it has purpose, and we can tap into that. Then maybe depending on how our brain tunes as a radio, we get different frequencies. And apparently if you hit your radio, it plays nice music. I mean, this just seems to sort of fit in nicely that probably, I mean, if this is a thing and it's there and you can tap into, it would be kind of unfair if like only certain people could. So, I mean, it kind of would make sense if most of us have the propensity, but just like a little bit, so we can sort of tune in and get glimpses of it. But yeah, if you haven't have full-on mastery and are able to sort of go there and download and come back, then yeah, you just sort of scrape the surface. I mean, that's another thing which I find is very bad in sort of the contemporary sort of materialist view of the world, that all this complexity is just random. It just happened. It's just brute fact, just whatever, move on. There's nothing to see here. Where it's like, wait a minute. I mean, this seems very specific. I mean, the intelligence in nature is crazy. I mean, it's just mind-blowing from in every direction, I mean, this is just insane. The intelligence in life. And then you have the structures and the whole universe and everything. Wouldn't it make more sense that this is kind of by design? And the problem when you say that is that the scientists then have the reaction to say, you just want to bring in your God, which is a good reaction because most people try and do that. But that doesn't mean that there isn't this structuring force, this will to complexity shaping our universe. And this could be very well a physical force that we haven't discovered yet. This doesn't have to be some God like putting in magic sprinkles or whatever. This could be something inherent, programmed into how our universe evolves, and we haven't detected it yet because we haven't looked, because for most scientific people it's like that's just what happened, the Big Bang, structure, whatever, you're here, move on.